Okay, good morning to you all. I hope all of you can see this PPT, right? Okay, welcome to this lecture 1 under module 2. I request you all to take up the assignment given yesterday. The link will close by today 5 p.m. Okay, all have to attend the exam and then give me the answered link. Okay. Now topics to be covered under this module 2, Hadoop's parallel world, old versus new approaches, and data discovery, open source technology for big data analytics. Now let me give you the introduction before starting to learn about this Hadoop. Now large changes have happened in the way data is produced, processed, analyzed and consumed due to advent of technology. Because of the paradigm shift in the technology, the cost of analyzing the data and processing the data have come down, right? And new and more effective data sources have come up. Like social media itself will generate large amounts of data. Some experimental setups like Large Hadron Collider under CERN and marketing data and healthcare data, lots of data is being generated. Now this data has to be processed very quickly, efficiently, and can be visualized to take informed decisions. Now for any organization, this data would serve as an asset only if it is quickly and efficiently processed and visualized in order to take some valid decisions. And also this technology plays a pivotal role in the entire process. Now, most famous among the big data technologies available is Apache Hadoop. And this Hadoop is an open source platform. It is not a licensed one, but it is open source platform and used for storage and processing of diverse data types that enable data-driven enterprises to quickly derive value from their data. Now, you need not worry about the volume of the data because of the flexibility and robustness in this Hadoop. You can work with large amounts of data. And who are the creators of this Hadoop? The original creators of Hadoop are Doug Cutting and Mike Caffarella. Now, Doug Cutting drew inspiration from Google's white papers like MapReduce and Google File System. These are the most important white papers that were referred by Doug Cutting in order to work with his that time current project, that is Nash, which he used to actually create he is working on it to actually create a large web index and integrate with it. So he has drawn inspiration from the white papers of Google, which are written on MapReduce and Google File System. Now, these two components later formed the origin and the core notion of the Hadoop project. Later, Yahoo hired Doug Cutting and supported Hadoop project initially to store the index, to store and index the web. That is for Yahoo search. Initially, their idea is to just to store and index the web searches. Now, this technology proved, but this technology later time, it proved to be a solution for lots of problems throughout the organization. That is why 3 employees came out from this Hadoop and they have founded this Cloudera, and after which Doug Cutting also followed them in 2009. Now let us see what are the striking features of Hadoop. Hadoop gives organizations the flexibility to solve unprecedented questions across their structured and unstructured data. Initially in traditional systems, they used to have some predefined queries, right? If you want to query a database, you need to predefine your queries, or if you want to visualize any data, you need to pre-configure the dashboards and work on the dashboards which are already configured, right? But Hadoop gives organizations the flexibility to solve unprecedented questions. You need not decide on what questions you need to ask the data set. You can, on the go, you can just decide what questions come across your mind and try to interact with the data set and find out answers for your problems at hand. With this, Hadoop comes features like scalability, elasticity over the traditional platforms. In traditional platforms, you can't scale up the systems, scale up the entire framework very easily as you do in Hadoop. Also, the elasticity is high. You can quickly add new clusters in order to increase the capacity of the existing cluster so that more and more amounts of data can be processed and analyzed very quickly. Now, Hadoop also allows organizations to hold on to more data at lower TCO. TCO is total cost of ownership. Means the investment costs are very low. Why? Because it is open source, it is higher, easily downloadable and deployable. That is why the total cost of ownership is reduced, can be reduced by using this Hadoop. This allows organizations to hold on to more and more data at lower TCO to increase operational efficiency and gain a competitive edge against their counterparts in the market. So the organizations need not think about allotting the budget to start a data analytics model in their organization. They can start working with this Hadoop as easily as it is. Now, Hadoop also supports complex analysis like detailed special purpose computation across large collections of data. It not only handles normal computations, but also some complex analysis can be done with detailed and special purpose computation. Now, what types of workloads are handled by this Hadoop? Say searching the web, log processing, recommendation systems, data warehousing, video image analysis. These are various types of diverse types of workloads that are handled by Hadoop. Hadoop also empowers organizations to work on the most modern scale-out architectures. Because the architecture is highly flexible, you can scale out as and when the requirement comes, as and when the dataset volume keeps growing. Now, Hadoop can also store any kind of data in its native format. Later, some types of cleaning of the data and transformation is required, but it is very easy to store any kind of data using Hadoop. Now, Hadoop stores terabytes and even literally petabytes of data in very inexpensive manner. Now, it is also robust and reliable by handling hardware and system failures automatically. We have some inbuilt functionalities in Hadoop, some important components in Hadoop that handle system failures automatically without losing data or interrupting the data analysis process. This ensures business continuity for any organization, right? That is why we tend towards using this Hadoop. Now, Hadoop also runs on clusters of commodity servers. Commodity servers in the sense, low-cost servers. Means you keep servers on different racks and form a cluster, and many such clusters can be hosted by the organization in order to quickly process and analyze large volumes of data. Now, what are the critical components of Hadoop? The critical components of Hadoop include HDFS and MapReduce. What is HDFS? Hadoop Distributed File System. This Hadoop Distributed File System is mainly used for storing the data in the Hadoop cluster. And also it makes use of fragmentation and replication mechanisms. What do we mean by fragmentation? When the data set comes to the Hadoop, comes to HDFS, this HDFS divides the data into fragments. And each fragment is hosted on a node which form a cluster, right? All the entire data set is divided into fragments, and each fragment is stored on a node that is residing on the cluster. Now, these fragments are not stored as a single copy, but multiple copies, replicas of these fragments are stored so that it will ensure that the data is not lost in case of system failure. And also that is what I mean by fragmentation, dividing the data set into fragments and hosting on various nodes on the cluster, and replication mechanism is followed. Means each fragment of the data set is hosted on number of nodes. Replica is maintained. And the next component that is important in Hadoop is MapReduce. This MapReduce acts as an agent that distributes the work and collects the results for giving a comprehensive answer. Means this MapReduce, when a job of computation comes to this MapReduce, this divides the computation into various jobs, into various tasks, and it assigns those tasks to the nodes and collects the results from the nodes and consolidates them into a comprehensive answer. And that result is given back to the client, right? That is what we understand from what we understand about the tasks performed by these critical components of Hadoop. Now let us also learn in depth about this HDFS and MapReduce. These both components handle system failures like unavailability of the server or any disk drive failures or data corruption due to hardware and software problems. In this case, what does HDFS do? HDFS automatically restores the data from one of the known good replicas stored at a different part of the cluster. When HDFS finds that system failure occurred due to some server downtime, or some disk drive failed, or the data is corrupted, or the data is lost, in such cases, the HDFS takes up the responsibility of finding another good replica stored at a different part of the cluster. You know that the data is stored in replicated copies, right? So this HDFS tries to find out another good replica at a different part of the cluster and resumes the action. And also MapReduce monitors progress of each of the servers participating in the analysis job and handles the server failures. Because the analysis job is divided into multiple tasks and assigned to various nodes, if at all one node fails, in that case, or if a node delays to answer to the MapReduce about its processing result, in such case, MapReduce finds out another node which can take up the task of analyzing that part of the job. It immediately resumes the task of analyzing that part of the job, so that it will get the analysis results from various nodes in less amount of time, in calculated amount of time, and it will consolidate all the results to make a comprehensive result and present to the client. Now Hadoop provides scalable, reliable, and fault-tolerant services for data storage and analysis at very low cost. You need to understand this. What are the features here? The main characteristics of Hadoop are scalability, reliability. Why do you say it is scalable? Because you can keep adding more number of nodes when the volumes of data that has to be analyzed increases. And reliability in the sense it handles system failures very efficiently without stopping or interrupting the analysis job. And fault tolerant in the sense it doesn't lose any data due to data corruption. It has replicated copies available on various nodes of the cluster. Now let us see what are the approaches in the older technologies, and how we have overcome those drawbacks by using new technologies. In the old school, the data and analytics technology was stacked with different layers, by cross-communicating the data and working on scale-up expensive architecture. In the older versions, in the older technologies, the data has to be cross-communicated across various layers, across hierarchy of layers. And also to scale up the architecture, it used to be very expensive. But in the new approach, data and analytics platform does all the data processing and analytics in just one layer without moving data back and forth. So what is the basic notion behind this new approach is, rather than moving the data back and forth, you're moving the computation to the place where the data is residing, so that you need not waste time on moving the data across across the bandwidths, so that you you encounter some bottlenecks like bandwidth and other such network related problems. Now, two new approaches what we have to mention here is scalable hardware that and no data movement. Scalable hardware in the sense, as and when the demand increases for analyzing large volumes of data, you can scale your hardware very easily. You can keep adding nodes to the cluster in order to increase the capacity of the cluster to analyze the data. And also there is no data movement. That is, you need the, you move the code to the data rather than moving the data to the computation. Means you are trying to save the bandwidth and avoid bottlenecks in the communication through the bandwidth by keeping the data stable at one place and moving only computation to the data. We can now run algorithms, look at the results, extract the results, and feed the business process automatically, and that too at a massive scale because of these new technologies like Hadoop. Now, what is data discovery? What does it mean to any organization? This term is used to describe the new wave of business intelligence in order to cover insights in a dynamic and intuitive way. Mine here, I'm using two terms, dynamic and intuitive. Means the way you work with the data set is not static. You don't work with predefined queries, or you don't work with pre-configured dashboards. Entire interaction with the data set will be dynamic and intuitive in the way. Intuitive in the sense, whatever question comes to your mind that you want to ask the data set, immediately it can be answered by using this dynamic interfaces provided by these new technologies. Now, this approach will help us to have freedom and flexibility to view the big data, and it can be taken up by the business users directly. Means this lot of freedom and flexibility is provided to the business users to view the big data in whatever way they want. Examples we can quote here are Tableau Software and ClickTech International. Their approach of sales model is mainly to land and expand. Land and expand in the sense, initially they provide a very user-friendly software tools. Initially they provide a very user-friendly software tools so that they can quickly get into an organization, and then they grow upward using their, by enhancing their software tools in order to meet the requirements of the business users. So what is the basic notion here is easy to use that encourage self-service approach. Means rather than handing over this analysis process to an IT expert, business users, high-level management who are actually using the analysis results can perform this analysis by themselves by using self-service approach, because the interfaces are very easy to use. They need not have any IT expertise to use these interfaces to talk to the data set, right? Now, it sounds interesting when analytics and reports can be produced by the people using the results, like high-level management or business experts who actually use these analysis results in order to take some important decisions. If they are able to perform the analysis and generate the reports, then the productivity of those business users actually increases. Business users who are actually not specialized developers drive the applications rather than relying on any IT team. This makes business users more productive. And also IT team need not be overwhelmed with lots of backlogs like assisting or changing the interfaces according to the requirements of the business user. IT team can spend their time on more strategic IT issues. They need not waste their time on assisting the business users to work with these interfaces. So because it is a self-service approach, where the business users themselves can start using the interfaces. Now this business intelligence this business intelligence normally works the way people's minds work. Means whatever comes to the mind, immediately they can put it into action, interact with the data set and find out the results. Now let us know what is open source technology. What are the open source technologies available for big data analytics? What is an open source technology? Normally in old model technologies, it consists of tools and systems that couldn't be modified and upgraded without the vendor support. So if you buy something from a vendor, you need to get back to the vendor for any upgradations or modifications. And these old model technologies are based on assumptions like the amount of data generated would be manageable. They thought in the previous days that data that would be generated by the organizations would be manageable and need not analyze all the data, but only some data analysis is sufficient. They used to think in that way. And programming resources also would remain scarce because in the previous days, the cost of programming resources were very high. They used to think that scalability is not possible very easily. And also faster data processing would require bigger and more expensive hardware. These were the assumptions made in the old model technologies. That is why those technologies used to be static and they are very rigid for to any upgradations or modifications. But the scenario has changed because of increase in demand for software capable of handling larger data sets and also existence of worldwide community of open source programmers. Now, the software is capable of handling larger data sets, right? There is also a demand for softwares which can handle larger data sets. And also worldwide, lots of community is available to open source and improve the system that is already existing. Large set of open source programmers are available worldwide. So open source is available in source code. How is this open source available? It is available as a source code form under open source license. Open source license in the sense you can study the software, you can change it, and you can improve it, means you can add some modifications and upgrade the existing software. But still remember, they are under governing bodies and agreements. There are still some governing bodies and agreements in place to monitor this open source technologies. One famous example is this GNU GPL, General Public License. GNU's General Public License. GNU is not Unix. There is another operating system called as GNU, which is released under General Public License, which allows free distribution under condition that if any further developments are made to that application, any further developments and applications are put they have to be put under the same license. Means any modifications or improvements done to this operating system should again be put under the same license. That is what we mean by this GPL, General Public License. Now, open source analytics stack or technologies are not constrained by someone else's predetermined ideas or vision, right? Normally, older technologies used to be developed according to some predetermined ideas or a framework. But open source analytics stacks and technologies are not constrained or limited by someone else's predetermined ideas or visions. So what are the features of this open source technology? They are highly flexible because they allow improvements and extensibility. We can keep upgrading it and at a lower cost. They are available at a lower cost. Lower cost in the sense you can easily download and deploy them and start working with them when the demand arises. You need not wait for a company's budget to be approved to procure a software and then start using it. You can simply download it, deploy it, and start using it when a demand arises. Now, what are the characteristics of this open source technologies? They are defined by its community of users and contributors, and they are not controlled by anyone. Lots of users in the community can contribute to enhancing this technology, enhancing these technologies. And also we can't predict its evolution because it keeps evolving over the time. Lots of community users keep contributing and improve this open source technology. So we can't predict in what way it will evolve. It is flexible and extensible and at a lower cost. Now, what are the points we need to just go through to understand open versus proprietary software for the new analytics stack? Proprietary in the sense traditional software. So large companies can't abandon their investments in existing proprietary technologies overnight because large companies or organizations have already invested so much in using these proprietary technologies. They can't abandon or isolate these technologies now immediately and then move towards this open source technologies. So it is an idea of coexistence of both the solutions, which will be a better option by overcoming some drawbacks of the traditional tools or software. So the traditional tools drawbacks can be overcome by partially moving on slowly and gradually to this open source technologies. Now coming up in the next class, the cloud and big data and the predictive analytics, how they are used by various organizations, and software as a service under business intelligence. These are the topics to be covered in the next class. Any doubts so far? Unmute yourself and you can ask me the doubts. You have an option to unmute. Yeah.
Ma'am, I have one doubt.
Yeah,
Ma'am, that Hadoop you taught us, no, ma'am? What is the real-time example of that Hadoop?
Hadoop is an open source technology. Real-time example.
Where they use it, ma'am? Where we can, which industry use this Hadoop?
Hadoop is used by any organization where they are dealing with large amounts of data. It is not that one organization or
big industries example who are using.
Industries example, Hortonworks data platform uses this Hadoop. Netflix uses Hadoop. Walmart, healthcare. Most of these technologies, most of these organizations use Hadoop in order to store and process large amounts of data. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any organizations who want to handle large amounts of data can make use of this Hadoop. They need to pay for, I think, for extra services, but basically it is an open source. Right?
Yes.
Any other doubts? So we mainly have to understand about this HDFS and MapReduce components, how they exactly work underneath in order to store, process, and analyze the data. Okay? So shall we end the meeting? Meet you in the next class. Thank you for attending this class.